Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar today. We are excited to hear about customer relationship management with Innovia Consulting's very own Tom Dorn. He is our customer engagement director. He's been with Innovia since 2017 and been using NAV since 2000. And we have just a few housekeeping rules. Please silence your phones and any devices that you have, especially for those who have dialed in. We don't want any background distractions. And secondly, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and type them into the question box and we will get them called out at the end. And third, we do record our webinars, so if you're unable to hear it all, you will be able to watch it later this afternoon on our website. And we record all of our webinars, so you can watch them on our website later. So now, without further ado, I will turn it over to Tom, and he will start our presentation today.
Thanks, Angie. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. Again, this is Tom Dorn. I'm with Innovia Consulting, and today we're going to talk just a little bit about CRM, and specifically the CRM that's baked right into the Dynamics NAV solution that you already own. The relationship management within Dynamics NAV has been around a long time. And for a number of years, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not it would go forward since Dynamics CRM came on the scene, and whether Microsoft was going to invest any money in the solution. And there's been a lot of back and forth on that, particularly as Microsoft was really re-engineering the product over the past couple of years. But for those folks that have been trying to follow the features and functions, I think that you'll notice, particularly in the last 2 or 3 versions, that there's been substantial investment in relationship management within Dynamics NAV. And in the last 2 versions, it's really made a big difference relative to what users have been asking for. So today I'm going to start in most salespeople's favorite spot, which is Outlook. And so as I am in my Outlook screen and just working through my day, you can see that I've got an email here from Jeff Pergalski. And he's asking me about a sales quote, and he wants me to adjust the quantity. And so it does a couple of things for me here. One is it shows action items, which means that it is intuitively saying, hey, look, we think we found an action item. Do you want me to put a reminder on your calendar to do this? Well, in this case, I'm going to say no, I'm going to take care of it right now. So again, right from Outlook, I'm clicking on a document view. It's going in, logging into NAV, and it only does this the very first time. So once I've logged in, it's almost instantaneous. But now it's loading the quote that this customer has asked about. So you think about that. So it knew, based on this customer and the sales quote that they mentioned, it knew to bring this quote up. And I could, right in line here, I could move over and I could change this quantity to 20 right in Outlook. And it lets me do that. So I could also pop it out. So if I've got, you know, a large quote and I want to have a little bit more real estate, I have the ability to edit the quote right from here, change anything that I might need to change, and then send that back to the customer. So all of that right from Outlook. Maybe I have additional questions that I want to ask the customer, and so again, you know, I can get a little bit more information. So I've got my sales history here. I can see past quotes. You know, maybe they're asking me about shipments that we've sent out, so I can click in and actually see those shipments right from this screen, let them know what went out and what they could expect if they've got questions. So you can see a lot of different functionality. I also have the ability to do a new quote, a new invoice, a new order. I can set a reminder for myself. So, you know, I can function with a lot of what a salesperson does day to day, right from my Outlook, linked directly to NAV. So this is a major improvement. It really builds on the investment that Microsoft's been making, for the past 15 years. I mean, they bought GP, then they bought NAV. They've been working on how to integrate these products with all of the rest of the Office suite. And now they've really gotten to a spot where we can see significant payback for users in their day-to-day interaction. The next place that Microsoft has made some significant investments is in these role centers. And so, for those of you that are maybe 2015 and earlier, the role centers were pretty okay, but we never had the funnel, right? So any of you that have been to my other presentations have heard this story, but I'm going to tell it again because it's pertinent. What typically drives a CRM conversation is that an executive or a new sales manager has been hired, and we want better visibility into our pipeline. And somebody sees a funnel and they get all excited and they say, man, we need to see our sales funnel. And so Microsoft really never had that sales funnel. We had all the tools we needed to make a funnel, but we didn't have the actual funnel. So now you can have the funnel right on your role center. Again, drillable just like everything else. So if I want to see, where am I at on these various opportunities? What's my total value? What's my weighted value? Where am I and what's my probability? I can drill into all of that just like I can anywhere else in NAV. When I'm working on my day-to-day opportunities, I can see my open opportunities. I can see my upcoming opportunities, again, using that pipeline or stoplight functionality. So many of you may know this, but you can go into these setup queues, and I have the ability to determine, when is something green, when is something yellow, when is something red, so that I can begin to get some visual cues if I have something that needs to get paid attention to. So as you can see in this case, I've got a red light telling me I've got some overdue opportunities that I probably want to look into. Again, with the click of a button, it brings up those opportunities and I can begin to follow up on those, making sure that I'm moving forward. It also shows me my open quotes, any active marketing campaigns that I want to keep an eye on. And again, I would just add that these queues and this role center are meant to be soup starter. So these are ideas as to what a typical sales manager might have on their role center. But your particular role center should look a little bit different so that it does exactly what you want it to do. I can have different charts. I can track my largest opportunities so I can see them at a glance. Again, giving me all of the information that I might want to have as a sales manager right at my fingertips. As a salesperson or a sales manager, what I want to work on, if after I've taken my quick look at my role center and I just want to get into my day, is my task list, right? What are my to-dos? And so I can begin to follow up right away and say, hey, here's everything that I have open. Maybe I want to work with a particular rep. So, maybe John Roberts has been having a little trouble. So I'm going to filter to just John's activities, and I'm going to set up and save this view so I can say, hey, look, these are John's activities. And this works really well. Maybe I've got inside salespeople that help support my outside sales team. And so you can set these filters, and you'll notice on the left here, I've got just the task list, but the minute I hit OK here, it's going to reload the screen. And now underneath that task, I've got John's activities. So I can actually, just at the click of a button, see just his stuff. And so now I can do a little bit of better job of coaching John's activity, coaching John to better success. And then, of course, if I'm John, this filter's already set, so I'm not seeing everybody's activities. I'm only seeing my activities. The other thing that we've gotten a lot of feedback on, and the Microsoft dev team has done a great job, is that they've made it easier. So you can see I had a note on this activity. If I was a sales manager or a customer service person, I didn't even need to drill in. I could see the notes right from the fact box. So I'm going to add a new note here and say, you know, they call for current pricing. Maybe I want to let John know about that, right? So I'm a customer service person. I want to notify them, and I want to make a note so that I know what's been going on. And maybe I want to create a new task. So I could keep this task open. I could push the date out if I want to. I could assign a task to someone else for follow-up. And I can do all of that from that screen in a couple of clicks. But you can see now as I roll through here, so now I'll go back to that top one, I can see the last several interactions at a glance. So all I need to do is rest on that activity, and it's given me a rundown of what's been going on. So these tasks integrate with Outlook. That's also been a big request from customers, and while it sort of worked in the past, it does a much better job right now. And so there is an assisted, oops, if I can spell, an assisted setup function. And so when I click into here, it'll do a lot of different things. But if you look, I've got email logging, I've got my business inbox. And so all of these things are super simple to do. You know, basically at a click of a button and a couple of wizards, it's going to walk you through that process and set everything up for you without really a lot of involvement from your IT team. I mean, you'll probably want to check in with them, but I of course didn't, and it worked just fine. Excuse me. So you know, I'm working through my activities. I'm taking care of the things that are coming up today. You know, the next thing I want to keep an eye on are my opportunities, right? And so I can look at a glance, and again, as a sales manager, I can see everyone's opportunities. As a sales rep, it would automatically be filtered, so I see just my opportunities. And if any of these were connected to a marketing campaign, I would see that right here. Another really nice feature in the last couple of versions, but I can sort on any column. So if I want to look at description, contact numbers, you know, creation dates, it'll filter on any column in this screen. So I can see my opportunities, I can move them forward really easily. So if I go through, and this one's actually closed, but if I hit the update, yeah, I need to hit an open one here quick. So I could go through and update. So this was a big complaint in previous versions. The wizards were too long. So you can see I'm at the initial step. Maybe I'm having a conversation, so I can make a note and say, you know, they called in and asked for a quote. All right. And so I'm going to save that so I can see my note, and then I can update my opportunity. So I can say, hey, what are you doing next? I can update if the value has changed. So maybe, you know, they added a couple more units. This is a bigger opportunity. And so I can save that. And now it has updated my opportunity. I know what my odds are based on the step I'm at. So I can see my current and my calculated values. And I know when it moved from step to step. So I have really good basis for analysis on the back end. I can see what's been going on, and it took me, you know, 2 clicks to update this opportunity, which you know, used to take a lot more. So you know, one of the big pushbacks that companies will encounter as they begin to use a CRM system is invariably you'll hear from your sales team, Well, do you want me working in the computer, or do you want me talking to customers? And so, Microsoft has been working hard to make it easier for your team to put the information in the system that as a company and as a larger team, we all need to have in order to give our customers the best possible experience. So often people say CRM, and what a lot of them are missing is the R, which is relationship. This isn't just task management. It isn't just tracking opportunities. It's about better creating, developing, and cultivating the relationships that we have with our customers. And so one of the best ways that we can do that is by knowing a little bit more about our customers. And so again, one of the functions that you have within relationship management in your NAV system, and if you own NAV after 2013, you already have all this functionality, are our questionnaires. And so if we look, we've got Soup Starter again here, but if I look at a company and I look at the questionnaire setup, these are the kinds of things I might want to know about my companies. Maybe you want to know about the industry that they're in. I was just working with a customer yesterday, and we were talking about their business, and they have different sales processes, whether they're selling to medical, or they're selling to aerospace, or they're selling to industrial. And so we may want to set up profiles with our customers so that we know about their industry, we know about their ownership, so that we can do a better job of marketing to people in a way that speaks to them. I was in a talk once, and I heard this lady, and she was just fantastic, but one of the most important things that she said that resonated with me is that there's a really fine line between mass communication and mass harassment, and that the real champions and the best salespeople in marketing organizations are going to use the data they have about their customers to tailor their communication to things that customers have indicated they're going to be interested in. So we're not just bombarding customers with every piece of information we might just because we have your email, but we're tailoring that message. So if you use the example I gave you a second ago, I'm talking to my medical device customers about medical related information and why I might share, thought leadership content for them. My aerospace people get aerospace related information. And so I'm not talking to people about things that don't apply to them. If I click down to a person as another example, you'll see that the questionnaire is a lot different. And so this enables me to keep track of the kinds of things that help us develop a more personal rapport with the people we interact in our customers and prospects. As we begin to work with more and more people, we want to keep track of their personal information. We want to be able to remember, that they just got married, or that they had a child, or maybe birthdays. It gets really hard to keep track of all of that. But if we fill in the profile information when we set up the contact, it gives us a shot so that when the customer calls in or we're reaching out to them, we've got a little reminder right on our screen. And I'll show you that in just a second. For our marketing folks, it also begins to give us some view as to, how many people fit each one of these demographic profiles. So within our database, how many people are, hunters? And maybe we want to do some kind of an activity or a promo that speaks to their particular interests. So this gives you a lot of value as you build marketing campaigns, as you build maybe social media campaigns, that allows you to tweak those so that they are using themes that we know our customers are already interested in. So where all of that starts to come into play is when we interact with our contacts. And contacts can be individuals, contacts can also be companies. So if I look here at Timeless Reproductions, you can see that that's a bolder font. That's telling me that that is a top level contact. It's a company. And these three folks all work for that company. So if I look here and the other thing that Microsoft has done a nice job with is improving search. So, in 2009, you had some search, and if you could spell it just right, you got it just in the right order, it probably worked okay. But they've really done a better job with string search. So if I type in Martin here, it's going to look, and now you'll see it's got, first names, last names. So any place that it found Martin, it gave me a result that said, hey, is this the person you're looking for? And in this case, I'm looking for Mindy Martin. Now, as I work through my phone calls, I may not want to have to open up every single contact, right? So I can make a phone call right from the screen. I could see my tasks that are associated with Mindy and everything that's been going on with her. So if I'm a customer service person and I want to see what's been happening, when Mindy calls in, at the click of a button, I can see, hey, hit the statistics. How many opportunities do we have? Hey, Mindy, thanks for your call today. I'm talking with you about it. She might be asking about one of these quotes. She might not. She might be looking, at something else. We can do a little bit of follow-up. Hey, Mindy, I noticed that we did a product presentation, and I just wondered if John had gotten you all the information, or there's anything I might be able to do to help you move forward. So we can all play a role in helping move our customers towards the decision that we want them to make, and typically they want to make. So I can see everything that's been going on with Mindy right at a glance. The other thing that we can do, so if we're in our contacts, you'll see that I can see the questionnaires that we were talking about. So if I only talk to Mindy every year or every couple of years because she's not all that active, I know how to better interact with her because I've got that information right on the screen. For those of you that are doing a lot of trade shows, maybe you're doing some list acquisition, Microsoft has begun to integrate the Cortana analytics so that if I get maybe a LinkedIn list as an example, so I've got the list, I've got the pictures, but I don't have a lot of the other data. Well, I can use the analyze picture functionality, and it will go out and start to build a profile based on big data analytics that says, okay, based on what I see in this picture, here are the likely attributes about this particular contact. So it gives us a lot more marketing power when we're dealing with someone that's maybe a little bit further than an arm's length relationship. It just gives us a chance to try to tailor our communication and break through, the cacophony of noise that everybody faces when they're trying to reach new prospects. Phone calls, so if I click the button, it gives me a chance to dial the phone, right? In this case, we use Skype, so it popped my Skype, and I could dial right from there. Same thing with email, so if I click the email button, it pops my email, and as I save those, it starts to begin to show me everything that's been going on with this particular customer. So if I hit my interaction logs, I can see we sent them some quotes. I can see the emails I've sent. I can also see that she made an incoming call. So I can see the interactions with one click of a button and do a better job communicating with my potential customer and see to it that we get moving forward. If I'm a customer service person, maybe I've had this phone call and I want to assign a task to John. So I could do a new task, give them, say, hey, look, refresh the quote. So, assuming that I wasn't able to do that, I could, and you'll see I did that wrong. So I'm going to copy that out. I'm going to paste that back in there. She made a phone call in, and so it automatically notes the date, it notes the time. If I wanted to assign this to a team, so if you had sales teams, I could do that, but it automatically knows that Peter is the sales rep for this one. If it was attached to a marketing campaign, I could look into my marketing campaigns and actually assign that to a particular campaign. If there was a particular opportunity, I could do that as well. So, really quickly and easily, I can say, hey, make the next phone call. And so then we move on and end the phone call with Mindy Martin. So, it's a lot of information right at your fingertips. And it's one of the big advantages of having CRM built right into the system you own, because the integration with the rest of your ERP is seamless. It's the same database. So while other solutions, Salesforce, even Dynamics CRM, they talk to you about the integration and how easy it is. Prior to me getting involved with Dynamics NAV, I worked with several sales CRM systems. I sold and helped companies implement CRM for about 6 years. And I can tell you the integration is never as easy as people try to make it. And it is never as complete as it will be with this relationship management tool built right into your database. So, one of the things that you'll see if you look at statistics is that the failure rate on CRM implementations is astronomical. And the reason for that is that when you put in your ERP system, if the folks in your shipping department decided they weren't going to ship today, you can expect that, there would be a big ruckus about that, right? People would be down on the dock going, what are you thinking? Same idea in accounting. If they decided we weren't going to invoice this week, that would be a major problem. But with CRM, if somebody decides they're not going to enter their activities today, unless there is significant management support or sales management leadership, the fact is that, it goes off with a shrug, and the fact is that, the rest of the business continues to operate. Now, I would argue with you, it doesn't operate at the optimal level that it could, but the impact is a lot more subtle. And so we tend to not want to hold our teams accountable for doing the things in the system that they really should be doing, the way we would hold our shipping or manufacturing or accounting teams accountable. So I would say that as long as we are prepared to hold sales and marketing teams accountable the way we hold the rest of our company accountable, we should and could have significant success with CRM. So the other thing, we mentioned the marketing folks, but we have complete marketing programs in here. And so you can set up sales programs, whether that's new customer promos, or maybe it's a trade show, maybe you do mailers, or you do social media programs. You can set up these campaigns and begin to track response rates so that we can show ROI for our marketing investment. So again, statistics, just the way you look at customer statistics or item statistics, I can see campaign statistics. So I can see what I've invested in the campaign. Currently, I can see I haven't got any opportunities back yet, so I'm still betting on the come. But it begins to show us, as we get responses, what our cost per response was and what our total pipeline from this campaign became. So it allows us to do a better job of sharing with the rest of the team, how are we doing with the dollars we invest, and how can we better leverage campaigns that build upon each other. So you have a lot of flexibility there. And again, the integration. So if I go to look, so within any campaign, I have segments. And when I create a segment, and I'll say, initial So I create a segment, I say it's initial contact, and I want to add some contacts. So now you get that, option box that you are all familiar with if you've run reports or the planning worksheet or any of that. And so I can see, maybe I want to run it for a particular territory or for a particular salesperson. Now I get into those profile questions, right? I want to talk to people maybe just in a particular industry. And so I can begin to look down and pick a profile question and say, hey, look, show me everybody that responded this particular way. Value entries, again, because it's built right into our system, I can say, hey, look, show me everybody who purchased this particular item or has this particular order pattern, so that it gives us a chance to build and leverage the information we know about our customers into growing our business. The interaction log entries, so it gives me a chance to say, anybody who responded to this email, I want to give them a particular offer. But anybody who didn't respond to that email, I want to give them a different kind of offer. It allows us to begin to do some A/B testing with our marketing programs so that we can tweak our offers, tweak our messages, and really improve our overall marketing performance. Again, all built into the system, doesn't cost you any additional money from what you already invested. So, a pretty powerful marketing tool. I was working with the sales team yesterday, and we were talking about some of the flows. And they said, well, some of these screens don't look exactly like we'd like them to. Isn't that going to be a mod? Well, I don't know if it's a mod. It might be some customization or some role tailoring to get a particular cue put in here. But the fact is that, in the example I used yesterday, let's just say that you work with your partner and you invest $50,000 in tweaks to get screens to look just the way you want them and to make the flow of an activity go just the way you want it to. If you compare that to what you would invest to put Dynamics CRM in, or Salesforce, or Sugar, or any of these other CRM solutions, I'm telling you, you are going to be money ahead by a long shot in getting the NAV CRM that you already own dialed in to work the way your team wants it to work. I would also caution you that a lot of people throw that up and it's a bit of a smokescreen. And so, we just want to make sure that we don't let people give us excuses for why they are not going to participate in CRM. So, these pretty pipelines all come from us defining our sales cycles. So, the other thing that we talked about with our sales customers and prospects is, look, tell me about your sales process. And the ones who are really honest typically will say, well, we don't really have a defined process. Got really highly experienced sales teams, they know what they're doing. That's good. How do you hire a new person and bring them up to speed? How do you take the subjective portion of sales pipeline analysis and start to make it a little more objective so that we can begin to allow the data to tell us how we're doing instead of people's opinions? And so if I look here, I've got several sales cycles set up. And when we get back to the role center, I'm going to show you that how this comes into play. But I've got an existing large customer sales cycle. And all that means is that I treat these types of customers a little bit differently than maybe I do a first-time small account. So if I look at the stages for a first-time small account, I go through initial contact, I do some qualification, I make a presentation, I do a proposal, and we get a signed contract. And again, soup starter, right? So yours might be 2 steps, yours might be 10 steps. But the key is that we want to identify the process we go through when we sell successfully. Any of you that have been involved in solution selling, you'll know that we want to try to emulate Eagle performance in journeyman folks. And so all that means is that, you know, when you go out with a really great salesperson and you attend this meeting with them, and as you're walking out the door, you're going, man, how was that meeting? It's like, wow, it was outstanding. We got the order. What happened? What did that person do? It's like, I don't know. It just all worked. Everything they did worked. And because of experience, because of instincts, because of the skills that people have developed, some salespeople achieve tremendous success. And the fact is, they're touching these bases subconsciously. They are going through qualification in their brain. They are figuring out how to do the presentation right on the fly. Well, and if we're going to grow sales teams, if we're going to develop young talent, if we're going to deal with the turnover that happens in a sales team from time to time, we have to be able to take sort of those all-star salespeoples, figure out what that process is that is proven to be successful, and then give a roadmap to a new person or a less successful person and say, hey, try touching these bases as you move through the process, and give them some coaching on how to do a better job. But it gives us a sense based on our data. So if you haven't got this level of information now, no problem. Start with your best guess. It says, look, when we get an initial contact, we think we close 20% of them. Once I got them qualified, we close 40%. If I've done a presentation, 60%. You get the idea. In 18 months or a year or two, we can start to have the data tell us what our close rate is. But when you take these steps and combine them with the chance of success close rate, this is what begins to build the sexy pipeline. So we got to have the data behind the pipeline. And I can show the all up pipeline so I can see it for the whole company. I can also scroll through and see it. So now I'm looking at my small opportunities. I'm looking at my first brand new opportunities. I can see my first small opportunities. So you can begin to see different pipelines based on different lines of business or different account profiles. So again, a lot of flexibility, a significant way to begin to use CRM without making an enormous investment up front. I would also caution you that you want to start. So there's an awful lot going on here, right? We've got the profile and demographic setups. We've got marketing campaigns. We've got opportunities and contacts, tasks lists. We want to start simple. We may grow into all that advanced marketing and sales automation, but we want to prove to ourselves that we can get some initial success early and then build on that success to expand our use of CRM. So, you know, I've showed you a lot of things. There's a lot more in here, actually. So, you know, I was just in another investment that Microsoft's made, but it's called Flow. So Microsoft Flow, you can build automated workflows so that if you've got quote approval processes, maybe new customer setup processes. So I'm all excited. I'm a new salesperson and I want to get, accounting to get this set up. I can automatically trigger flows that can be developed by your team. You're not going to need, a partner. I mean, your partners, I'm certain, happy to help you, but you should be able to set up these flows on your own. So it is pretty well drag and drop functionality, and it really does a nice job in automating follow-up, automating approvals, automating onboarding of new customers. If I look at my departments just quickly and I pick on sales and marketing, you can begin to see, all the different things that are going on here. I can also see to it. So, big marketers and folks that do trade shows and list acquisitions, managing duplicates is a big task, right? So you can build search strings. So you can come in, again, you get the profile box, but I can, show me last name, show me any field that's in NAV, right? Email tends to be a good one. They don't tend to be duplicates. Cell phones tend to be a good one. They don't tend to be duplicates. So I could do mobile phones. I can do just about any field that I can think of that tells me that this person already exists in my database. So it does a nice job of deduping and making sure that we're not, getting multiple folks that actually turn out to be the same person in our marketing database, because obviously that hurts our ability to follow up with integrity. As I look at my sales teams, so I can do individual salespeople, I can do sales teams, tasks, opportunities. It gives us a pretty significant analysis piece at the end. And then you combine this with your Power BI, and you can begin to embed that into role centers, into customer cards, so that you get analysis type information at the click of a button. The other place that this can help is in mapping. So there's all kinds of APIs that are built now so that I can quickly, if I'm going out and I'm a sales rep and I'm going to see a new customer, maybe I want to see where they're located. And so on that customer card, I can actually have some mapping built right in, and I don't actually have that one on that screen. But if I add the map, yep, I'll need to do that the next time. But I can add the mapping functionality, and it will tell me the best route from where I am to where I'm trying to go, and make suggestions to me as to how I might go about getting in front of these folks. So the mapping technology is pretty cool. You can also use that to begin to build some routing functionality. So for those of you that have your own fleets or you run delivery routes, you can begin to use that Cortana API to help you build out some routing functionality and direct your delivery routes. Looks like we have about 15 minutes left, so I'm going to take a breath and try to answer some questions. So Angie, anybody have questions?
Not at this moment, Tom.
Okay. Well, we'll give them a minute or two and see if questions come in. So I do see a question. What version of NAV is this? So this is 2018. Other questions? One more. So let's see. On the profile setup, can we customize the questions so they're applicable to our business? So absolutely, those questions, and I use this term a couple of times, but I call it soup starter. So when you look at NAV, so if let's just go take a look at the questionnaire setup. So when I get in here, so I'm going to dock that back where it is. So if I go to my person, I could add a new question, right? And it tells me, is it a question or is it an answer? So I'm going to say it's a question, and I want to know their technical background. So, you know, we have several customers that are in the life sciences area. I can say, hey, can they have multiple answers? And I'll say yes. And so then I want to do a new answer. And I want to move that down. And I'll say, you know, they're PhD physicist. Yeah, I think you get the idea. So I can do this and then begin to build questions any way I want. So these other questions that are here were just, again, soup starter. So the questions, the profiles can be anything you want them to be. All right, so other questions? Annalisa, thank you for the questions, by the way. Other questions that I might be able to help with? You know, I would just maybe by show of hands, how many of you are thinking about implementing a CRM solution in the, say, coming year? You can just raise a hand. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So we see that a lot. So there's a lot of folks that this is a hot topic, and people, you know, want to make sure they get it right. So let's see, another question. What does Dynamics CRM offer that's not available in customer relationship management? So that's a little bit tricky. On the surface, so there's several modules now, or Microsoft's calling them apps, within what is Dynamics, or what was Dynamics CRM. So some of the more robust email integration is a little easier in Dynamics CRM. We do a lot of email. I think it works great out of relationship management, but it does take a little bit more work to get it set up. Some of the customer dashboards, I'm going to say they look a little sexier in Dynamics CRM. It doesn't mean that you don't have that data in NAV, but you know, we do hear that some customers like the screens a little bit better. You know, just one final point on this: when I work with new customers, the challenge that I give them, if they already own NAV, is look, let's go through a little bit of analysis. Let's figure out what it is we're trying to accomplish with CRM. And then if it turns out that we don't hear any answers that NAV doesn't appear to do, let's start with NAV. Let's get started with NAV, show us that you'll actually use the system. And then if we run into something that we either think needs to be more robust or doesn't work quite as well as we hoped, we can figure out whether it makes sense to invest in a more expensive solution. So, you know, I'll tell you this story, and Annalisa was the person who asked this one. But many of you know Tony Darden at Cat Plugs, and Tony is a great customer, and we've known each other many years. And they started with NAV relationship management, and now they're on 2013, getting ready to upgrade this year. But because of the remote functionality and lack thereof in 2013, they really felt after a year or so that they needed to go to Dynamics CRM. But now, as Tony is seeing the new releases and what's available to them, they're actually, you know, discussing moving back, maybe not right away, but with their next upgrade. So, you know, I think there are people that have been paying close attention to this that are really, you know, having gone to Dynamics CRM are now saying, hey, you know, I think we might be able to leave Dynamics CRM and actually just use the NAV we already own. Phil asks, is there a mobile application for field people that will be live? So it is live. NAV is fully device aware now. So whether you use a tablet or a phone, the screen is going to resize and behave the way you expect a mobile app to behave. So yeah, works pretty great. Other questions? Got a couple more minutes if you have any more questions.
Before we go, I'd like to thank everyone for attending the webinar. Thank you, Tom, for presenting. And if anyone has any further questions and would like to discuss them with Tom, you can contact us. Oh, one more question. If you haven't used a system in the past, what is the best way to get started?
So I would say that the best way to get started is to get a couple of folks from your sales team together and see if we can't agree on a very simple process that we're going to follow. And then we're just going to track our tasks, because I have never met a sales team yet that can't agree that we want to follow up and we want to make sure we don't lose track of our follow-ups. So we're gonna just track our tasks and we're going to track our opportunities. And that's a very simple way, doesn't require, doing some of the more complicated aspects of the CRM solution. And then you can, sort of prove to yourselves that this is useful. I am more than happy, and I'm sure your partner would be more than happy to come out and talk with you about that. But it's less about the software in the early days, Phil, than it is about agreeing on a very simple system that we're all going to use. And by system, I mean business process, not software. Couple more minutes. Other questions? Okay, Angie, back to you.
Okay, well, again, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Tom, for presenting. Again, later on this afternoon, this will be available on our website at innovia.com, and simply click on our past events page to view other webinars. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar, which will be presented next Thursday with Innovia's Alan Wine. He's presenting notifications. So we'd love to see you on that webinar. Everyone have a great day, stay warm, have a good weekend, and we will see you next time. Thank you.